What should have been a time of celebration has been marred by awful decisions made by CD Projekt Red's management, including shipping the game when it needed a few more months in the oven. It just wasn't ready. It's not a finished game with all the bugs, glitches, crashes, performance issues, and key features that are missing. And beyond that, they engaged in deceitful marketing by manipulating the review process to not show the awful, broken console version of the game, especially if you run them on base console. And I especially feel bad for the developers who no doubt poured their hearts into this and now are seeing that the optics surrounding the game are now largely negative, because while there is a good game at the core of it all, there's a really fun and special game, all of that baggage just makes it very difficult to focus on the things that the game did get right. They did respond by releasing the following statement, in which they apologize for not showing the game on base last-gen consoles before it premiered. An apology that rings hollow when you consider that they didn't just not show the game, they actively went out of their way to ensure reviewers wouldn't show that footage either, because they knew the game would be poorly received. They knew how bad the game ran on last-gen consoles, and they actively chose to hide that, to bury that under the rug. They say here they should have paid more attention to making it play better on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I don't understand what they mean by pay more attention. They're the developers. They knew exactly the state that the game was in, and in fact, they paid so much attention to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version that they went out of their way to restrict the review process so that these versions would not be shown until after the game's out, until after they've taken people's money. They talk about how there are bugs and fixes coming, though because CD Projekt Red is going on holidays, the first big patch is coming on sometime in January, and then that's going to be followed by patch 2 in February, if they can even adhere to this. I don't even know what the roadmap for Cyberpunk looks like. No doubt this is going to lead to delays for the expansions and DLCs, because they're going to be more focused on fixing the game. And then the last paragraph talks about how CD Projekt would appreciate it if they were given a chance. You already had your chance. That was launch day, and you botched it, especially with console players. But even PC players feel that the game is too buggy. People already gave you a chance by spending money on your game. Again, I do believe the game will be much better weeks or months down the line, but people put their money down on day one because they wanted an adequate experience on day one, and console players in particular are especially not getting that. Now, the one saving grace seemed to be that they were going out of their way to ensure people who request their refunds are getting them, and they talk right here about how if you purchase digitally, use the refund system for PSN or Xbox. For box versions, try to get a refund at the store where you bought the game, and if people have issues with refunds, they said that they should contact helpmerefund@cdprojectred.com. So at the very least, people thought, hey, I'm going to get my money back. But now we're hearing reports that people are actually having trouble getting refunds, especially on PlayStation and Xbox. This was reported by news outlet Eurogamer in this article, where the headline reads, "The Cyberpunk 2077 refund situation is a mess of mixed messages." Scrolling down, you'll find some key excerpts highlighting all this. Apparently, the writer of this article saw mixed results from customers who contacted Eurogamer about this and who were trying to get a refund from Sony. It states right here that while there are reports of success, one customer contacted Eurogamer last night to say they had been through live chat and, after being refused refund there, spoke to a PlayStation customer service rep on the phone and was still refused a refund. And then on Microsoft's front, while their refund policy is less strict, it is more flexible. Still, customers are again having mixed results with this one. People are also having trouble returning their physical copies after they have opened it. News outlet Eurogamer specifically highlighted retailer Game, which I believe is a UK games retailer, and apparently staff are not currently giving out refunds, instead pointing customers to the refund email address CD Projekt included in its statement. Eurogamer also spoke to a source at retailer Game who had the following to say: "We have been told to direct people wanting refunds to the CD Projekt Red email address that was provided. The only time we're doing any refunds is if the game is still sealed in the original box. Even then, we're only doing exchange or credit note as per our current returns policy. Eurogamer also contacted boss of retailer Shop 2, who said that they're accepting refund requests on Cyberpunk 2077, but only if the customer is willing to pay the cost of shipping. So what it all essentially comes down to is that when CD Projekt Red said, hey, we understand that some people are angry and so we're giving out refunds, they just said that without actually having an infrastructure in place with PlayStation and Xbox and all of these retailers working something out to ensure this is a smooth process for customers. Instead, they just kind of put this statement out there and are having people rely on the policies that are in place for respective platforms and retailers. So, as Eurogamer put it, what is becoming clear is that CD Projekt's statement referenced existing refund policies and no exceptions are being made for Cyberpunk 2077. CD Projekt's original statement made it seem as though they were going out of their way to ensure there were exceptions for Cyberpunk, given the awful state it launched in, especially on consoles, but no exceptions are being made. You either get lucky with someone who is very generous at Sony or Xbox customer support and actually give you that refund, or you deal with someone who will follow the policy set in place and will not grant refunds, because especially with Sony's policy, essentially if you have started to download the game, that alone will make you ineligible for a refund if you bought the game digitally. And CD Projekt Red apparently confirmed as much in an investor relations call last night with the following statement from SVP of Business Development at CD Projekt, Mikhail Nowakowski, who said, "One has to understand, Microsoft and Sony have refund policies for every product that is released digitally on their storefront. Despite several articles I've seen that things are being set up just for us, it's actually not true. These policies are in place and have always been in place. They're not offered specifically for us. Anyone who has purchased any title on the PlayStation Network or the Microsoft storefront can ask for a refund, and if it's made within certain boundaries, usually related to time, usage, and so on, can ask for that refund. Our procedure here with Microsoft and Sony is no different than with any other title released on any of those storefronts. I want to state that clearly, as there seem to be certain misconceptions." And whose fault is that? You guys were the ones who posted this statement that flat out says if you're not satisfied with your purchase, you can opt to refund your copy, making no mention of the fact that this was strictly referring to within the confines and boundaries of the refund policies set by platforms and retailers. The way most people interpreted this was that CD Projekt Red would ensure you get a refund with no questions asked, given the state of the game on consoles, given how awful and broken and unacceptable the technical state of the game is. But that's not the case. And while they do point to this email address, helpmerefund@cdprojektred.com, no doubt that the volume of emails they're getting is exceeding the number of people who can respond in a timely fashion. So I've already seen posts of people who try to contact CD Projekt Red because their refund got rejected, and it's been days and days and still have received no response. And making matters even more confusing is that during a recent investors call, CD Projekt co-founder Marcin Iwiński is now saying that they're not encouraging gamers to return the game, but the statement released to the public encouraged dissatisfied customers to get a refund and made it seem as though that process would be eased. He then says, "We hope they'll give us a chance to improve it on old-gen consoles. I'll say again, you already had your chance to ship an adequate version of the game, and you botched it. That first impression will remain forever, and if they can get it to an adequate state down the line, that's fantastic, but none of that is going to excuse the fact that they botched their one chance they had to make a positive impression from the outset." Beyond Eurogamer's reporting, there are plenty of people out there who have posted on social media and forums their own experience with PlayStation or Xbox customer service and their inability to actually get a refund. And among the people reporting their experiences, Mark Medina from IGN, an editorial producer, who said, "For research, I just tried to get a refund, Cyberpunk 2077 on PlayStation. After a run around with a chatbot, I finally got connected with someone who said, I already downloaded the game, so no refund. Good luck, friends, but refunds most likely won't be happening." So on top of this, putting a damper on CD Projekt Red's statement that dissatisfied customers would be getting a refund, This also paints a very negative light on Sony and PlayStation, who did not do their due diligence, certified the PlayStation 4 version of the game in that state, and now are not giving out refunds even though the product is clearly broken. It doesn't even take a bunch of hours of gameplay to see what an unacceptable state the game is in on consoles. Here's someone from Reddit reporting something similar. Apparently, CD Projekt Red's statement was made without considering Sony and their refund policy. I was excited to see the statement made on Twitter because it implied that I could pursue a refund, which I very much wanted to do, regardless of policies, regardless of circumstances, making an exception because this is an exceptionally negative situation. I hadn't before because I knew Sony's policy of forfeiting a refund if the game was downloaded open, but the statement implied that these standards would be waived. Well, I just finished talking to an agent and they refused to give me a refund, effectively making CDPR's statement useless. It seems like they just like to push it out as a form of damage control without actually considering the facts of the situation. Now I'm more upset than I was before. On Twitter, you'll find plenty of people complaining. So this is an article from Video Games Chronicles, who compiled some of the tweets people have been posting about their inability to get a refund. So on PlayStation, this Twitter user said that PlayStation continues to reject PSN refund requests for Cyberpunk. Xbox supports same thing. Why can't I get a refund on Cyberpunk 2077? And there's a screenshot showing that the refund request was denied. This is especially bad optics on top of already bad optics when their apology refund statement is kind of a whole mess within itself. And if you search up Cyberpunk refund PlayStation or Cyberpunk refund Xbox, you'll find a wall of posts and tweets of people who are disgruntled by their inability to actually get a refund, despite CD Projekt Red's statement that seemed to guarantee a refund. Especially with Sony, the fact that even before you play the game, just as you're downloading the game, that alone nullifies your ability to get a refund. That is anti-consumer as hell and allows these companies to run away with people's money after they have sold them a product that isn't in an acceptable state, that doesn't meet a certain quality bar. I'll say again that there are some people who are being issued refunds by Sony and Xbox, people who seem to have gotten lucky, but this shouldn't be the exception, actually getting a refund. It should be the rule. So yeah, the launch situation is a mess, the reviews and marketing situation is a mess, and now the refund situation just got messy. We're also finally starting to see reviews for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version of Cyberpunk 2077 finally released. Keep in mind again that reviewers were not given review copies for the console version of the game, intentionally so because CD Projekt Red was aware of the technical issues and tried to hide that. And so most of the reviews are on PC right now, which has dipped a little bit to an 89. It was at a 90 before, and the user score is at a 7.0. But it's a whole different story if you look at the PlayStation 4 listing for the title. With 5 critic reviews, the game's sitting at a 50 with a user score of 3.0. And scrolling down, IGN's article in particular, IGN giving the game a low score of 40, a 4 out of 10. It is especially scathing and something that has been making headlines, given that, you can say what you want about IGN, but they are straight up the biggest video games news outlet in the world, probably. And when they put out a score like that for a game as big as this, that's gonna create waves. That has a tangible effect on optics surrounding the game and the development company. And looking at the review itself, it talks about all the things that have already been reported on, the performance issues that make things like aiming and driving damn near impossible, or at the very least very uncomfortable, the crashes that keep getting in the way, the bugs and glitches. And this is a screenshot that was taken after the 1.04 hotfix, after all of those day 0, day 1 patches came out. This stuff still happens in the base Xbox One and PlayStation 4 version of the game. And so this reviewer rightfully gave this version of the game a score of 4 out of 10, which by IGN's criteria represents a bad game. And it states right here, please don't play Cyberpunk 2077 on a base PS4 or Xbox One. It is a shockingly bad way to experience what is a fantastic RPG on better hardware, which I would say is an accurate assessment. And beyond IGN, you've got other outlets that have given middling to negative reviews. So we got 70, 65, 60, 40, and Jeux Video from France gave it a 35 a while back. And these two reviews are not particularly positive about this version of the game either. Never did I imagine that CD Projekt Red would launch a game in such a state that would see scores like these on one of their titles. I mean, 50 on Metacritic, that's Fallout 76 level bad. I think this is actually a worse score than Fallout 76's average review aggregate right now. I've said this before, but what really hurts about all this is that we expect better from CD Projekt Red, a company that has continuously touted itself as a consumer-friendly company and have continuously said that we will respect your money and all of these different things. All of that goes out the window with this whole situation. All of that trust they've built up, I mean, to get that back, they have their work cut out for them. Rushing this game to release in an unpolished and underbaked state, that by itself is bad enough. But even worse is the active deceit that they partook in, manipulating the review process, not showing footage of the PS4 and Xbox One version of the game, purposely going out of their way to bury all of that under the rug so that people would have to find out the awful state of things on launch day and beyond. That is EA, Ubisoft, Take-Two, Bethesda levels of shadiness. And in some ways even worse, because EA, Ubisoft, Take-Two, Bethesda, when they've sent me review copies, they've never ever stipulated that I cannot use my own gameplay footage. Cyberpunk 2077's review embargo was the most restrictive I've ever seen in the years that I've reviewed games. And the last company you would expect that from is from consumer-friendly CD Projekt Red. And beyond all that, Cyberpunk 2077 is a game people cared about. It's been in the works for nearly a decade. It was announced back in 2012. The hype was unprecedented. I mean, one of the most hyped games in the history of video games, already set to become one of the best-selling games ever, 8 million pre-orders. People wanted to celebrate this game. We had so much emotional investment in the success of this game. And to see it launch not only less than adequately, but deceitfully, and with the console versions, unacceptably. You know what they say, the higher you rise, the harder the fall, and this is what this feels like. This feels worse than Anthem's launch, than Marvel's Avengers launch, than Fallout 76's launch, because we actually had faith in this, and it came from a company who we trusted. And this was supposed to be a landmark game launch. But to see it all go down like this, like, it hurts, man. It really sucks. CD Projekt Red has a lot to do to build up all of that goodwill that they have just lost. We'll see how they handle things. We'll see if they'll find ways to make it up to us down the line with future content release and future fixes, but you know, this is a stain that will not go away. This is something that people will remember, and as a result, whatever their next project is and whatever they show, there will be an air of doubt. Everything CD Projekt Red says or shows from here on out, people will approach with trepidation because they'll remember what happened with Cyberpunk 2077. And that's an awful feeling to have for, you know, a video game studio, development studio that seemed to be doing and saying all of the right things up until now. It sucks, man. This is just not how I expected things to go down with Cyberpunk. But the situation is what it is, and only time will tell how all of this will end up resolving. But until then, let me know in the comments below what your experience has been like with trying to get a refund for Cyberpunk, if you've tried, and what your experience has been like with the game, what your thoughts and opinions are on just this whole debacle. So drop a comment, share your thoughts, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.